Well, hello there. My name is Dave Vila. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access TV Channel 99. We are a weekly public opinion program addressing local, state, national topics and issues of interest to the Michigan City and surrounding areas. Opinions are the views and responsibilities of those making the comments and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of this program or its co-producers. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but absolutely no one's First Amendment rights of freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use of the accounts, descriptions, and events of this program without the express written consent of Larry, Curly, or Schmo is strictly prohibited. We hope that you enjoy the program, the participants, and the discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, the First Amendment of our state constitution talks about abridging the freedom of speech or freedom of the press or the right of the people to possibly peaceably assemble and to petition our government for redress or grievances. This is being taped on Good Friday. My statement here has been my statement here for the last, 13 or 14 years about freedom of speech and freedom of the press. I'm consistent in what I do. I try to uphold my word. When I say something is going to happen, something is going to happen. And something just about didn't happen today. Bob left a phone call for me at 9 o'clock this morning on my answering machine. I didn't look at my answering machine till 3 o'clock, or till about 2:30 in the afternoon, pertaining to whether we are going to have a program today or not. I just assumed, as you see, we have 4 people present here. I just assumed that I gave my word to Elko, and Elko gave their word to me that we're going to tape the show today. Lo and behold, at 3 o'clock, a light bulb flashed in my bifocals, and what Bob said at 10 o'clock this morning rang a bell, and I better find out whether we are going to have somebody down here to tape. So 3 minutes after 3 minutes after 3 today, I made a couple phone calls to Elko and come to find out that their doors are locked, the burglar alarm is on, and oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, I made a couple phone calls, and lo and behold, a young man by the name of Drew White, I pulled him out of his lazy boy lounge chair watching the Cubs game, and he is down here today taping our program. I try to keep my word. Gentlemen, thank you for coming. Our guest today, a young man from Valparaiso University, his name is Jeff Dobler. He is also the director of Michigan City Municipal Band. But this program today is trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That just about didn't happen. Jeff, the show is yours.
Okay. You asked me to first talk about what we're doing with Sousa this year.
Whatever you want to talk about.
Our annual Sousa concert at Valparaiso University is going to happen on Saturday, April 26th, 4 o'clock in the Chapel of the Resurrection. There are no tickets, no cost to get in. Everyone's welcome. What we try to do there is showcase all of the bands that are affiliated with Valparaiso University, have a really nice time. And we do the first half of the program with one of the college bands, and they play a variety of music, not necessarily Sousa's era, but sometimes Sousa's era. Then the second half of the program, we have our second, third, and third band, our Community University Concert Band, plays a concert in Sousa style. So it's all music that was written before 1932. And we play it the way Mr. Sousa did, with a variety of music and soloists and that sort of thing. And then it's fast-paced, and Mr. Sousa was into the fast pace where there's only about 8 seconds between each selection, and we go right on to the next one. So we have a really great experience doing that. I made a list here of the things to tell you about some of the repertoire we've got going on. One of the opening numbers is going to be Official West Point March by Philip Egner. And that, interestingly, is a piece that was suggested by somebody in Michigan City. And we've played it in a Michigan City Municipal Band last year or the year before. It's a really neat piece that has 9 different bugle calls and other songs that have that cadets at West Point would recognize. So that's a great one to start with, a really fun march. And coincidentally, the West Point alma mater and the Valparaiso University alma mater are based on the same tune. So the Valparaiso people will recognize that alma mater as one of the songs in there. We're also doing a big saxophone feature by a composer from Minnesota named Frank Benprosciutto. We're going to play a Jupiter from the Planets by Gustav Holst. Everybody will recognize that. Even if you don't know the title, you'll recognize it as soon as that music starts. And we've got a little bit of Beethoven 8th Symphony, the Allegretto. That's the second movement from Beethoven's 8th Symphony. A beautiful, slow dance melody. And one of the reasons we're playing that is to honor our recently deceased colleague, Lorraine Brew, who was the organist at Valparaiso University for about 20 years, and it was one of her favorites, so we're playing that for her. Then we get into the second half of the program where the pace really picks up. Mary Beth Myhevic, who's a senior at Valparaiso University, will play the Neruda Concerto on trumpet with the group. Emily Yanez, who we've appeared with before here on this show, she's a soprano and also, of course, the executive director of the LaPorte County Symphony, is singing 2 pieces with us. And then we've got all kinds of other things like Sousa marches that include the Pride of Pittsburgh and Stars and Stripes Forever. So it's going to be a really nice program for the audience, lots of variety, lots of fast-moving stuff, and I think it'll be really enjoyable.
While you were announcing your program, I thought of the organ in the Chapel of the Resurrection. Have you ever incorporated the organ with your efforts with the Valparaiso High School Municipal Valparaiso Band?
Yes.
When did that occur? And
it happens all the time.
Oh, does
it? So first of all, since it's Good Friday, I'm going to talk exactly about what you're talking about, and then I'll mention that we do have some organ on this very concert.
Right.
One of the great traditions we have at Valparaiso University on Easter, and I realize your audience will see this after Easter, but you can think about it for a future year.
It's played Saturday morning at 10 o'clock.
Okay, well, all right. So at 10 o'clock on Easter is the big service at Valparaiso University, and it's got organ and choir and band and handbells, and it's something that you will never forget if you play. The band plays on just about everything, and we collaborate with the organist on all the hymns and a whole bunch of extra pieces that way.
And what time will this take place for?
10 o'clock, yeah.
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock this Sunday, 10 o'clock Easter.
So it takes about, 45 minutes to get there?
Depending where you're coming from.
Depending where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And, of course, available parking is stone's throw away.
Yeah. It depends what time you get there. Right, exactly.
But again, this is an opportunity for residents of Michigan City.
Yeah.
If they're looking for a Easter service to attend, you welcome any and all?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, everyone's always welcome at the chapel. And then that's just a long answer to your question, that we are combining band and organ in the chapel all the time. And when I'm conducting up there, the band is right here and the organ is right there. It's really, really fun. But another piece that's on our program for the Sousa concert is an arrangement of the hymn tune called Hyfrydal. Maybe it's pronounced Hyfrydal. But it was the favorite hymn tune of Lorraine Brew. And so we've got a guest conductor and guest artist organist, Seth Carlson, who's the director of the Miami Sousa Band. He'll be with us. He's one of our graduates. And he'll be with us to conduct 2 pieces, but also to play organ on Hyfrydal to honor our deceased colleague, Lorraine Brew. So organ plus band is a big thing at Valparaiso University.
So he will climb up in the...
Absolutely. He'll be up there. Yeah.
It'd be unique.
It's wonderful. It's a great opportunity.
A unique way.
And you've described it before about the great acoustics and the beauty of the Chapel of the Resurrection, and using those acoustics with a band plus organ is really spectacular.
As I was thinking of how we could integrate your efforts into Easter, I saw the unique opportunity to talk about the Chapel of the Resurrection and Easter Sunday services and religion in its basic form. Music is the line of communication between everybody and everybody. And how wonderful.
It's a great opportunity, right? And I love it.
If you haven't been to that chapel, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And to be able to make music in there is just a great privilege, especially on Easter. And there's usually a good crowd, but never an opportunity where there are not enough seats. There will be enough seats.
I attended one of the last concerts you had, and the entire front half, well, and not from the altar yet. I felt bad turning my back to the altar, but the band was here, so I had to look. I stood in a center section of the Resurrection Chapel because it was full, from halfway full, and there's a lot of space available.
Yep.
Especially on Easter.
Yep, Easter will be that way too. It's really a great opportunity.
So that's 10 o'clock Sunday morning for the Easter services, but we're talking 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon.
Next week on the 26th.
On the 26th.
Right, exactly. That's when the Sousa concert will be.
Just for clarification, you go there this Saturday at 4 o'clock. There's going to be no one there other than empty parking lot.
Actually, there will be people there.
Oh, really?
There's so much going on. I mean, I think you know that Valparaiso University is a Lutheran school, the only independent Lutheran university, and so there is very meaningful worship happening on Thursday night, Friday night, and then Saturday vigil, and then the big services on Sunday morning. So there are people that prefer a particular kind of worship and reflection during this Holy Week, and they can find those different services in the different styles, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the big service on Sunday. So it won't be just an empty parking lot, there'll be people there.
Well, you could go to church on Saturday if you want to.
You can if you want
They will
to.
have a service.
My claim to fame as far as Valparaiso, the Chapel of Resurrection, was my dad was a union carpenter, and he helped construct that. That was his claim to fame, that he helped contribute something.
And we are celebrating the 65th anniversary of that building this year, as well as the 100th anniversary of Valparaiso University as a Lutheran school, and 165 years of Valparaiso University being in business. So a lot of really exciting things are happening this school year and then into next school year.
Amazing. That campus is amazing, and that church, if you have a chance, and I know we like our own churches, but if you have a chance to go to that and a service there, amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful building.
Yeah. Again, I'm a non-practicing Catholic, but I still enjoy going to that because of my dad's memories and so on. And I took my grandkids there, and just the visuals, the acoustics, says a lot.
And that's part of what I like too. I feel very strongly, and I feel very moved by the religious aspect of everything, but also the artistic music things, especially on Easter, and the combinations of things that we can do with the congregation, with the choir, with the handbell choir, the band and the organ, all of those things. Even for somebody who's not even interested in the religious aspect of it, can get a lot of the artistic music part from it too. And as you're mentioning, the Munderloh windows, those stained glass windows right behind the altar, especially in the morning when the sun is coming in from the east, especially beautiful. So it's a great place to be. I could talk about it for hours.
Well, and another interesting, the spiral staircase on the under the organ that takes you down. I mean, it's just unique architecture.
Right.
Simple, but unique. You know. You guys got something going there, maybe?
I think so too. And it's the largest collegiate chapel in North America.
Really?
And so it's one of the things we talk about when we're talking about students coming in. But it's just a really great place.
Do you have a resident pastor, or do you have?
Oh yes, yeah.
What?
James Wetstein is one of the pastors, and Catherine Euseus is the other pastor. So there are 2 resident pastors. There are a number of other people, including Reverend Brian Beckstrom, who's one of the leaders in all of the church things that happen there. So there's a lot. And I won't go into much Lutheran detail, but when we talk about Valparaiso University as the only independent Lutheran school, that means that both of the larger synods, the ELCA and the LCMS, are collaborating there and have dialogue there, whereas all the other Lutheran schools are affiliated with one or the other. Nothing wrong with that. But it's an interesting dialogue theologically at our place that doesn't happen at other places. And so you wouldn't even notice it unless you come in and think, wow, gosh, there are 2 hymnals, one's brown and one's red. Why is that? That's because each of the denominations has their own, and we go back and forth, sometimes even during the same service. So again, I could talk a long time about that. since you asked, that's a really good question about how the pastors work there and they work together.
It is very unique. As a ELCA Lutheran,
Mm-hmm.
I recognize the Missouri Synod Lutheran,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the two hymnals.
Yeah.
And they're just, differences are minor, but as a Lutheran, you really, when you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, I
Yep.
see the independent.
Yep.
They're both here.
Yeah.
Bob, you're just, didn't we have to wake you up to contribute to this conversation or what?
I was wide awake. I was fascinated. Let me start out by saying to everybody, Happy Easter. I was very lucky this morning. I happened to hear Cardinal Dolan talk about the sequence from Good Friday to Easter. You know, he was fantastic. Regardless of what religion you are, you really had to appreciate what he had to say. I'm going to change the conversation just a little bit, because in this area, we have a fantastic opportunity at music and arts with everything that goes on. Valparaiso University, Notre Dame University, Michigan City High School, and Valparaiso High School. So many of them have music classes, they have bands, and the opportunity for kids to be able to learn. But I'm going to mention another one, which is the LaPorte County Symphony Orchestra. And this is in 2026, they are planning to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And so for their performances, and they start in mid-July, and they will run through 2027, they're basically going to play very American types of music, probably a lot of John Philip Sousa, and so on and so forth. But what I really want to talk to Jeff about, or let Jeff talk about, is the importance of getting your kids started at an early time in terms of music and letting them find out what they like and how they should go about using it, either at the junior high school level, the high school level, the college level, and the opportunities that will be there for them. Because I think that's so important. And I know that budgets are really stretched in junior high school and high school, and sometimes it's tempting to eliminate music type programs, but I really think we should not be doing that. I'm sure there's other ways that we can raise the money to provide for those kinds of situations. So Jeff, if you would talk a little bit about the importance of children starting out and how parents should look at guiding them through.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing to note is that in Northwest Indiana, we have quite a few schools with very strong music curriculum, all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. And that's good. The general music, the students are learning a lot of important concepts there in kindergarten through 5th and 6th grade. And then depending on which school district you're in 5th or 6th grade, you're probably going to have the opportunity to get into band and or orchestra and or choir. Mm-hmm. And we also have strong support from the professional music industry in this area, which also helps us, budget-wise, as you were talking about. So instrument rentals are very reasonably priced. Schools often own their own instruments. So as you're suggesting, parents want to be involved. Parents should be encouraging their students to get started in those areas, and they can develop from there. And again, the teaching is quite strong, all the way from kindergarten, and then when they get into band, choir, and orchestra, when they're in middle school and high school, also quite strong. And we're lucky. It's not this wonderful everywhere, but we're lucky with the teachers and the support that we have from communities and families and administrators. Then I'm going to put in one other little plug, since you mentioned USA 250 for next year. We talk about it next year perhaps, but since you mentioned it, I'm going to say the same thing. We've already got our Sousa concert booked for next year. It'll be May 2nd in the chapel. And our guest soloists, and this is one of the reasons I'm bringing this up, our guest soloists are Master Sergeant Dr. E.J. Ramos, who plays trumpet in the U.S. Army Band in D.C. He's one of our graduates, 2004. And then Matthew Yee, musician first class Matthew Yee, who plays euphonium. He's in the U.S. Coast Guard Band, class of 24. They'll be our soloists, and then we'll also have Kimberly Beasley, who teaches at Jacksonville University. She'll be our soprano soloist. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put together all three of the VU bands plus Windiana. So we'll probably have about 150 or 250 piece band for that big concert next year on May 2. So thanks for bringing that up too.
And for 5 years of my life, I'm going to request that you definitely put Anchors Away
It'll be
in
there.
your program.
Yes, it'll be there. We do, you know, service
medley.
and Anchors Away is right there. You bet. Thanks for asking about that. So anyway, back to music education, strong in this area.
Oh, yeah.
Parents definitely want to support the teachers and encourage the kids to be involved. It's fun, it's hard work, but it's a good opportunity for them to develop wherever they decide to go afterward. Thanks for
Before we get too far involved, half of this show pertains to the 26th. Make sure when we get down to our timekeeper over here, make sure that when we get down to appropriate time, this young man also does another thing to benefit the city of Michigan City. And
Very important.
very important thing that's been going on for a considerable amount of time. I also like to address that, so it's up to you, Tony, to break in whenever you feel like it.
Well, you got about 5 or 7 minutes, so.
5 or 7 minutes, Jeff?
So
Run
we
with
have-
it, man.
we have-
Okay,
Next
great.
we have.
All right. So let's talk about that. This will be the 157th season of the Michigan City Municipal Band, and we're excited to get going. We're doing our planning right now. Our first Thursday night performance will be June 5, and then we do every Thursday night, of course, through August 7.
Don't you perform at the cemetery first?
We also perform at 10 and 11 o'clock at Greenwood Cemetery on Memorial Day, and then also the Summer Festival Parade, which is on June 28th. So yeah, May 26th for Memorial Day, Summer Festival Parade on the 28th of June. So it's the 10 regular Thursday night concerts plus the 2 other events.
Also rebroadcasts.
Yes, I can't remember off the top of my head when those are rebroadcast, but they're on local TV.
I believe it's Wednesday night at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
I believe, or
Okay.
Thursday night at 8 o'clock.
Okay. I always have that in the script. so-
Yeah, depending on how Ruben
Yes,
progresses. But
right.
you also appear in Fort Wayne. Is it Lafayette as well, or?
In Bloomington, I think. Right. So wherever those,
Really?
those
Yeah, these guys get around. I mean,
That's the TV version.
Yeah, the TV
Yeah.
version.
yeah,
Wow.
TV version. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me tell you some highlights about that. The only time on Thursday night that we're not playing at our usual 7:30 time will be on June 19th. So Juneteenth, we're going to play an early concert. We're going to sort of be the opening act. And we'll play at 4:30 with our regular concert, and then the Reggie Foster Experience Jazz Band will be the headliner on that Thursday night on June 19th. So that should be a really exciting opportunity for everybody. We're going to play premieres this year by Erica Svano, who is a really important composer coming out of Minnesota. Another really important composer from Florida is Michelle Fernandez. She's writing a piece for us. And then for this, I think the 5th year in a row, we've got Gunnery Sergeant Hiram Diaz, euphonium from the U.S. Marine Band. He's going to be back with us again with another premiere of another euphonium solo. So we can't wait for that. That's going to be August or July 31. That's when he'll be with us.
I was under the impression you might have brought him in with the other euphonium individuals.
No, that'll be next year.
Okay.
Right, but he'll be back again to do that too. Part of what we've been doing with him, this will be the 3rd year of 4 that we've commissioned composers to write these brand new euphonium rhapsodies, concertos, whatever you want to call them. And so we're able to have a high-level artistic experience with Gunnery Sergeant Diaz, and then we're also contributing to the world of music and the world of solos for the euphonium, where there aren't quite as many as trumpet or piano or soprano or something like that. So this is the 3rd of 4 years that we're commissioning an important composer. Kevin Day is our composer that has written for him this year. And so it's a great honor and a real thrill to be able to do that.
The image of his spiffy uniform.
Yeah.
I mean, just how, not the instrument per se,
looks
just
great.
how he looks.
Yeah, he
It
looks
is a selling point to what the military is all about.
Yeah. And of course, he's a world-class musician. And I should give a shout out too. Last year, on the day that he was to perform with us, the weather was looking really bad. And thanks to the Michigan City schools, we had made arrangements beforehand that if on that particular concert, if the weather was bad, we'd be able to play at Michigan City High School. So thanks to them, we didn't have to cancel the concert. We had a wonderful experience over at the high school auditorium. Then I'll just mention, then I'll be done. Our guest soloist will have Anne Marie Bice. She's been with us for several years in a row. She'll be singing. Dr. Lauren Hartman from Florida will be with us. She'll be another singer. And then our own Richard Lewas, who taught music in the Michigan City schools for many years, recently retired, lives in South Bend. He's going to do a clarinet solo with us on one of the evenings. So lots of great things are happening. And Quincy Ford, our assistant conductor, and I are making plans for our programs and looking forward to getting started.
A couple of things. You're commissioning somebody to write and so that is, so people, if you guys play musical pieces, sometimes those are licensed. And so you commission your own, and sometimes those would work out better for you.
Yeah, and that's one of the, to me, as artistically, that's one of my favorite things to do. Most of the music we play, we already have purchased, or we purchase it new and we play it, and that's wonderful. But when we have the opportunity to commission a composer to say, here's what we want, please write it in this style, please write this length, please write it for this soloist, that's really artistically one of the most fun things to be able to do. And it's one of the great things that we've been able to do in Michigan City. And then again, the music that we are able to commission is out there. For example, for our 150th, we commissioned Roger Sitchy, a famous composer from the East Coast, to write a piece that he called Beyond the Lighted Tower. We premiered that one for our 150th, and that just came out with one of the publishers, Northeast Publishing, published it last year. And so that's part of what's happening. And the first euphonium concerto that we had that Hiram Diaz played was just chosen as I can't think of the exact title, but the most important piece on the famous Leonard Falcone Euphonium International Contest piece is our piece. So that's a work that's being played by people around the world, and when people are looking, what's a great piece to be able to play? That piece that we commissioned. So it's really exciting. Thanks for asking about that.
I just had a harebrained idea. The library of Michigan City Municipal Band, according to you, is vast. Are there any pieces of music that you could incorporate from the Michigan City Municipal Band in conjunction with the Valparaiso Band, or?
We do that all the time. Yeah, we do that all the time. It's very common for me to loan music to Michigan City and for Michigan City to loan music to us. It's also very common for us to combine the groups and invite the Michigan City people to play. A number of the Michigan City Municipal Band members play either or both in our community band in Valparaiso or Windiana, our professional level band.
So how vast? 1,400 pieces?
Yeah, it's probably more than that.
Really?
Yeah, we're very fortunate, and of course that's because the band's been around a long time, and because Guy Foreman made that happen, and he made it so we started with a great library, and then between Quincy and me, we add to the library every year. So we're very fortunate. We've got a great variety of stuff.
Now, there was an individual in the past, when I made a request, he looked at me in a snide way. I requested the William Tell Overture.
Which we've played twice.
I'll tell you what, it gave me goosebumps, man.
Yeah, that's good. But that's, as you know, if you come to our concerts, we encourage people to make suggestions. And I mentioned right at the bat, I talked about the West Point March. And that was something that someone suggested, whether it's a popular piece or somebody's favorite Sousa March or whatever. We like it when folks, you and everybody else, make suggestions.
How could an individual request a song?
They can talk to anybody in the band.
Really?
They can talk to me, they can talk to Quincy, they can check out our Facebook page, they can send me an email message. We're very interested. And then what I do is I keep a list, and then we try to program what people ask for the next year.
Well, again, with my request, I believe it took about 3 years, but it eventually came,
right.
Because again, he's got a log, and so you might not have instant gratification.
Right.
But I tell you, what made me really feel good was when Jeff was playing the song, people in front of me were jumping up and down in their seat in that finale of the Lone Ranger.
And that's a great example of what you're talking about. And even if people didn't know that's the William Tell Overture, I've heard that.
Yeah.
And when we played Jupiter at our Sousa concert coming up, They might not know that's Jupiter by holes from the planets, but they're going to go, oh, yes, I've heard that somewhere before.
And the little kids, possibly with various cartoons, they can associate
Yeah.
that, not necessarily that cartoon, but the music in that cartoon
Exactly.
with
Yeah.
something bigger and better, which is you.
Exactly. That's a fun thing.
It is.
I got to take a page out of Bob's book since we talked about the euphonium.
Mm-hmm.
People might not understand what that is, and if I'm right, that, in my mind, that's the picture when you think about a Sousa band or a band. The euphonium is the instrument you usually picture with that band playing.
Yeah, it can be.
You know,
It's like a little tuba.
yeah,
It looks like a tuba
but it
small.
stands up and it's not too big, but it plays like a mini tuba.
Yeah.
So when they do
Yeah.
pictures of bands, it's usually the euphonium is sitting in front of the person.
That's true. And sometimes it's called a baritone. There's little bit of differences between that, but exactly. It's good you mention that because sometimes you use the term euphonium and people are,
Yeah, people
what
think,
is
you know,
that? Yeah.
I'm thinking of Michigan City, euphonium, they might start thinking a little Polish, and it's not.
But everybody knows now because Hiram Diaz has been with us these last few years, so that's good.
Okay, well, I got a couple of things. First of all, when you talked about shirts, I can tell you how you do this. You get 2 dress shirts. You find a retired Marine sergeant who runs a dry cleaner. And then you tell him you want starch throughout the shirt except for the collars, and you want double starch in the collars. You get 2 of those. You keep both of those in a place where you can always get to them when they have an inspection. And so then you're always set up for your inspection. Then as soon as the inspection's over, you go back and put your regular attire on. That's how you do that.
Basically, I did that same thing today before the show. This is the first time I wore a white shirt.
Yeah, but you didn't spit sign your shoes.
It's hard to spit shine tennis shoes.
I won't.
So these are armed services hacks you're talking about now?
I won't bore anybody with how you do that, but if you'd like to know how, give me a call and I can explain it. What I'd really like to ask Jeff about, though, you've talked about what selections you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about picking out those selections?
Oh, that's a
What
great
turns your
question.
mind?
That's a great question. Our main thing is that we would like to have every concert, especially Michigan City Municipal Band, we'd like to have every concert where everyone in the audience has at least one piece that they think, oh yes, I really like that one. So I don't necessarily have a formula like March, Broadway, jazz, pop, or whatever, but all of those sorts of things are involved. And between this concert and the next concert and the next concert, we want to have just about any genre that you can think of represented. So we don't want people coming there and thinking it's only going to be this style of music or only this tempo or whatever. All kinds of different things. That's a great question. And in fact, if you were in the back of the amphitheater right now, you'd get a big kick out of it because I've been working on that. And so I've got music all over back there. This is going to go this week. This is going to go next week. So it's a big puzzle, but it's really fun to do that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Because I often wondered sometimes, because most of the time when I go to one of your concerts, I get something that
That's what we're trying to do.
anchors away.
Yes, right.
I want to piggyback on that because you pick the pieces, but then you have to put them in order or some order that they flow.
Right.
Because you don't want it just to stop, and it's got to be a nice, beautiful, and that's probably an artistic talent that very few people have.
That's another part of the challenge and part of the puzzle too, is how to do that. You don't want like all the fast, loud stuff here and then all the soft stuff here. So it's a variety. And if we take that even back to Sousa, that's the way Sousa concerts are put together, almost scientifically. And interestingly, even Mr. Sousa was even using different keys, which might not make sense to everybody, but he would make it so that this piece is in this key, and then to keep things optimistic, the next piece is in a key a little higher and higher, and so it keeps going like that. And that was part of his theory, to keep everybody happy and to keep everybody excited during the program. So that's another fun thing. That could be easily a whole show of talking about how to put together programs.
To see somebody like Sousa, who was brilliant and talented artistically, to put those things together that unless you enjoy it, but when you start realizing what he did, your enjoyment increases because you're now looking for his flow and pieces he put
Exactly,
together.
right.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see that.
You know, when I put this show together initially, I called Bob and I called Tony, and I didn't know what to expect of Tony and his
His great knowledge of music.
his limited knowledge. I didn't know.
That's great.
You know, but you could see the joy on his in my ear when I talked to him on the phone.
that's
That
great.
he really was receptive to this concept. So
And that's the beauty of Valparaiso and my Lutheran upbringing in church and the hymns. And then later in the scenes like Philip Sousa and some of those past, and I was telling you that my sister had me listen to this John Fogelberg CD, which is leader of the band, and at the end he does play a little piece of Sousa, but after that, quietly, you have to turn the headphones way up and don't do it while you're listening to it. He sneaked a Sousa song in there.
Yep.
Right at the end, but you got to turn it way up to hear in the recording. They added it at the end.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But he's from Illinois, and I believe Sousa was stationed in Illinois.
Yeah, for part of the time. During World War I, he was training the cadets up at Great Lake, and he was working with the musicians there and that sort of thing. In fact, he was, a Marine. He was an officer in the Marines, and then stopped doing that so that he could join the Navy to be there at Great Lake during World War I to train the cadets
And
there.
the little piece I read, because I thought that he had a little more influence down in Peoria and Effingham, but not really. He was more in northern Indiana because that's Fogelberg's areas, Effingham and Peoria. But the pages online said that John Philip Sousa's dad made him go to the Marines because he didn't want him to join the circus.
Right.
Because we kind of hear a lot of circus things in the Sousa stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And well, since you mentioned that, so that's what happened. He made him enlist and be in the band, and so that's part of where his training was coming from. And then he ended up, before he became the leader of the band, he was leading theater orchestras in Philadelphia, even around the centennial of the United States, and that's where he got a lot more of his compositional skills and conducting skills. Then he's back in 1880 to start leading the Marine Band and really developing that into the world-class organization that it is today.
And of those of you who are interested in instruments, your organization, the Michigan City Municipal Band, according to my knowledge, has a Sousa, an authentic Sousa instrument within their umbrella.
That's the legend, and I assume that it's true. That's what Steve Horniak.
Yeah, that's right.
He
That's
would know. We have an instrument that I'm not so sure it belonged with Sousa, but Mr. Sousa liked it. The bell, the glockenspiel that we have, has a particularly beautiful sound, and most people won't understand this, but most of the bells, most of the glockenspiel, it's just a piece of metal like this, and it's flat. But the one we have,
excuse me,
has resonators.
For those of you who don't know what a glockenspiel is, it's
like a little metal
like a little xylophone. Yeah, little xylophone.
But the difference there is that the regular glockenspiel has just these bars, nothing below. But this one, the reason it sounds extra beautiful is it's got these little resonators, so these little tubes that are underneath the bells. And so it gives it an extra beautiful tone, almost like handbells. And so the legend from Steve is that, I don't know who it belonged to, but when Mr. Sousa was here in Michigan City for the final time in 1914 when they were on tour, he had a chance to have that set be played in his concert and was quite complimentary to the Michigan City Band about that instrument.
Historical value.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And when Steve was alive, he had a new case for it and a new stand for it. So the instrument is well taken care of and it sounds beautiful. And we use it pretty much every week.
Didn't know that. Sousa here.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
19.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sousa played in Valparaiso 1898, 1904, 1907, and 1914. And at least 2 of those years, including 1914, he also played in Michigan City. And if I had my notes, I could tell you exactly where and when.
You were supposed to bring him.
Yeah, but he also played in LaPorte at least 2 of the times during those times too. So the Sousa Band was here, and it's exciting, and especially when in 2014 we played quite a few of the pieces that the Sousa Band was playing on their 1914 tour. so that we could say this piece was probably played by the Sousa Band right here in Michigan City. Yeah.
20 minutes? Oh.
Yeah, so in 1914, would he have played at the bandshell, or would he have played?
No, that's a great question.
Where was he playing?
And if I knew better the places, I could tell you. And I have them written down in my notes in other spots. But he played at 2 different places in the city, not at the lake, not at Washington Park, any place like that. But there were 2 indoor places in the city. So that's exciting. It's exciting to know that, and to think about how they were traveling by train, and then how do you get the equipment to the performance venue and so forth, and at that time, the Sousa and the band, they were, well, that's probably right.
Wow.
The Sousa band was kind of like the biggest rock star. So they were the Taylor Swift of the era.
Oh yeah.
And so the town would pretty much shut down when they were coming to town. Everybody would be there. The school band would be playing. Everybody would come for the concerts and that thing. So it's hard for us to picture that, but it was it was a different time. And so it would be so exciting to go back in time in Michigan City to 1914 when they were here the last time.
On the 11th of April, the Michigan City High School Municipal Jazz Band played at Barker Hall, and I had an opportunity with my wife and her friends to attend. They had probably about 150 people in that place, and how unique, another treasure in Michigan City that no one really knows about. And the acoustics in that building, and I thought, wow, if we could only get the Michigan City Municipal Band to maybe fill that facility, but there wouldn't be enough people, enough places for individuals to sit. And us older goats, because of the series of steps, have it really difficult. But I made it all the way up to the balcony, slow but sure, one step at a time.
That site is a hidden treasure I don't think many people know. And the money they spent and the way they built that Barker Hall is amazing.
In my mind, it appears to be like a 6-story building. Again, 4 stories up, and there are also 2 stories going down. It's the plaster walls, white plaster walls, the big wide beams across the ceiling. I mean, and how the sound reverberates. I mean, it's...
Yeah, you could go to any church in town, St. Mary, St. Paul, St. Stan's, Queens, Notre Dame. But boy, if you walk into the Barker Hall, amazing.
I've got the individual's named Jonathan. His father is a pastor, I believe. At,
Jonathan Albertine, friend of mine.
Albertine.
Yep.
Albertine. I got his. I plan on. Wow, you're reading my mind. I plan on bringing.
He's a good
him
friend of mine since 5th grade.
Oh, really? Well, in fact, when I told him about the Sousa concert on the 26th, he punched in his dad.
He's a Valpo grad,
and he said he was married in a Chapel of the Resurrection.
Yeah, his wife's a Valpo grad.
Nice.
And I went to their wedding.
Did you?
Nice.
I mean, there's how close people are within 6 arm lengths to one another.
But I didn't realize how impressive Barker Hall is.
No, it is.
It is amazing.
But for us old goats going all the way up to the projection room, it was a chore.
And it is a projector.
It is. They played silent movies there.
It was built to be used possibly as a theater and projector. So, and it's amazing that Sousa was here, because like you said, in those days, that was a rock star. That was amazing to have that person even come to your town. Came to Michigan City.
I was going to follow up on something Tony said, and he talked about John Philip Sousa's father being worried about him going to the circus. When you were a male in the 1870s, 1880s, early 1900s, came out of a large family, very little money. In many cases, you really only had 2 choices. If you wanted to see the world, you either joined the military or you joined the circus. So he wasn't far off when he talked about that. Now, the Navy carried through with that for many, many years, because they had the slogan, join the Navy and see the world. But yeah, that was what it was all about. And these kids were 14, 16. Today, we know that a male's brain does not heal until he's 26 years old. I don't know about females, because VFW only covered that for males coming out of Vietnam. And that's one of the reasons we have so many problems, because we had so many kids that came in at 18 and 20. But First World War, many of them were 14, 16, Civil War, earlier than that sometimes. And that caused a lot of problems as a result of that. And this is sometimes the reason why nastiness hangs over after wars are over. But I wanted to ask him about marching bands. How do you go about training marching bands that's either different or maybe the same as you would an orchestra band?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, the first thing, the music and the way you play the instruments are the same. And especially when I'm assessing and when I'm evaluating marching bands, I want to make sure that what is on the field sounds as good as it would sound in Barker Hall or any other place that has nice acoustics that way. And so we don't want the players to be doing crazy things that make them not play well. So musically, same thing, although there's more to it with all the movement and all of that sort of thing. But, and again, in this area, we have some really strong high school band programs with some strong marching programs. And the way that they achieve that is they work on fundamentals, just like you would work in any other area. And so you'd be very surprised at in their rehearsal time how often they're working on basic marching techniques, basic posture, a basic breathing and that sort of thing, so that everything they're working on is uniform. And that's one of the reasons it can look and sound so good, and the formations that they can create are so nice. Yeah. So there's a lot to it, and it's easy to think, oh yeah, just send them on the field, give them a half hour, and they'll be ready. And it's obviously it's not.
It amazes me how they can carry these tubas and drums around and get into all that formation.
Absolutely, and although all of those instruments over the years have been modified in a good way so that they're a little lighter, some of them are still pretty heavy. And if it's windy out there, and if you're carrying a bass drum or a sousaphone or something, it's almost like you're a sailboat, and you're getting blown around. It's no easy task. It's a lot of athleticism is involved in what you're doing marching because you're moving all the time like that.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Yeah, before we conclude the show, I hope the viewing audience utilizes the topics that we're talking about today to maybe act as an impetus to get them to some church services, regardless of the faith. Easter Sunday is memorable to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And maybe we just laid a little groundwork to entice somebody to get the dust out of the pews on an occasional basis. You know, I mean, there's rational thinking behind this program, whether it looks like it or not. You know, and it comes from our only one and only staff writer, Sarah Bellum.
Yeah, because we talk about churches, and we're really blessed up here in all of Northwest Indiana. They have some organs that you won't find anywhere in the world, and they're usually not visible. They're usually behind, up in the balcony, and you don't see them. But on Easter Sunday is really the prime time that they blow out all the dust out of the organs. And it's impressive. And whatever church you want to go to, they've had some unbelievable organs.
I believe there's a church that have a weekly organ catty corner from Flanagan Tire. There's a church that has a refurbished pipe organ. I don't know the name of the church, but they have weekly presentations.
Yeah, so if you go to your church,
they have a historic organ in there. I'm not
sure. You might want to, once in a while, you might want to go to another church, and you will hear some music that you won't hear anywhere else. And we are blessed with that. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's what helps some of the parents and the kids think about some of the music in either, whatever it is, symphony, marching band, choir, especially choir. In my day, and probably yours, we were in choir. We might not have been the best choir people, but you got introduced to music. And now we're blessed with other
I hate to tell you this, I have a deal with the church. I promise not to sing, and they let me come.
But it's also an opportunity for service. Whether you're singing in the choir, singing in the congregation, using your instrument to play there or whatever, it's an opportunity to serve the church too. And that goes back to what you were talking about being able to participate in worship.
In our little way.
Yeah.
In our little way, we're contributing to Sunday.
Exactly.
In our minuscule. And again, my thought process was to incorporate the municipal band with the Sousa concert, with the Easter festivities, and I think we did a pretty good job so far.
So we're getting ready to start the season off, right? Here we go. We start next week, right? With you can go to John Philip Sousa at Valparaiso, and then right after that, we're right into Michigan City.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if we got time for Jeff to talk about this, but I was just going to say one little thing. You go to church service and you listen to the music. A lot of times the verbiage in that music will tell you what the occasion is all about, like Easter. And if Jeff would like to comment.
Yeah, in fact, those who plan worship services are planning the hymns, for example, around the text in there. And it's easy for us to just sing through and not think much about it. But when you start to examine the text, it's exactly what are in the various parts of the liturgy that day, the readings and that sort of thing.
How are we set on time, Tony?
About 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
Because again, if Drew doesn't arrive, we'll just continue the program and we'll just do part 2.
So a little bit that since I grew up in Lutheran high school, Lutheran grade school, Catholic high school, when you're in there and you're singing hymns in church, whether in the choir or whatever, you're looking at the hymnal and you start picking up on the notes because they give you the notes in the hymnals. And that always helped me I went to a Catholic church or I went to a different denomination and I didn't know the songs, but I recognized notes and I could read a little bit of music because it is a talent. And that's where we get shown that, or I got shown that is in church.
Yeah. And between church and hopefully what's happening in general music in school, helping you with reading. And then also, even if you're not quite sure where the line's going, listening to the organ or listening to the choir, listening to the ensemble and trying to follow along that way. And so, Bob, if you and I were working together in church music, I'd find a way to get you to do some singing, even though
I would put my wife, and my wife can sing,
Okay.
so I know what singing is all about.
I know. People tell me that all the time, and I'm a music education professor, so I'll never accept the fact that someone can't sing.
Me neither. When I'm in church, Bob, sing away.
Where did you obtain your degree? Your professorships?
I went first to Luther College, then Valparaiso University, and PhD from University of Minnesota.
Really? Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Yeah,
Big Lutheran.
Really? That's right.
My grandpa always,
Really?
summers in Minnesota, fishing and a lot of Lutherans.
That's how it goes. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw another one at Jeff because we got a little bit more time.
Sure.
If you were thinking 10 years out, what types of music do you think would be predominant in our society? Are we going to be looking at rock and roll? Are we going to be looking at some of these other types of music, or is that going to dissipate?
I think that everything that we've got now is just going to continue to develop. That's my thing. So various levels of rock and roll and country music and hip hop and so forth. They'll keep developing that way and kind of see, at least in the popular world, what are people buying? What are people going to as far as concerts and so forth? There's more and more happening electronically, and then it'll be very interesting to see what happens with AI and who's going to start writing music using artificial intelligence. I don't know. And do we want that? And will it be too generic?
I guess I never thought about AI in terms of writing music, but you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Making music. That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
AI it's so much fun to be alive right now because AI is going to make leaps. Right or wrong, AI is making music, and it is going to be quite interesting to figure out where AI goes. And it's fun because this is the infancy, and AI is just starting. And where it develops, because you always develop from something from the past, and AI definitely does that. All it knows is the past. There's not much AI that can make something new out of the future. It's just pulling from the past. And this is going to be a lot of fun.
We're getting down to the last 5 minutes of the show, and I have to comment a little bit pertaining to my intent of this show to appear Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. Okay? I realize that we are taping, and my concern is whether the show will work its way through to the 10 o'clock viewing of Saturday.
My assurance, it will.
Oh, very good. Because again, our impetus is to expose people to the Easter holiday Christmas services, and this was my intent to sort of prod people to
But
maybe.
mostly they have a show coming up on next Saturday, the 26th.
Mhm.
Yep. 4 o'clock.
Valparaiso.
So it's again, it's up to you, Drew, because if it don't play, well then I'll pull a plug on your basement.
Go ahead.
So there's a lot starting this season. Starting a week from the 26th, a week from this Saturday. And
That's
the
a-
whole
that's-
season ramps up.
Now, services at the Chapel of Resurrection, 10 o'clock,
10 o'clock Sunday, yep.
10 o'clock Sunday,
Easter Sunday.
Easter
Yep.
Sunday.
Mhm.
So again, there's a little minor subliminal suggestion to say, if you're looking for some place to go Sunday morning,
And it'd be inspirational. It's one of my favorite
yeah.
opportunities of the whole year because of all the music that we get to do in the chapel on Easter.
Or maybe you can go there on Easter Sunday and scout it out, knowing you're going to go on Saturday for the big show.
There you go. Yep. Find your
Let me
place to
throw
park.
something else out, because I hadn't thought about this, but they have the ability to take care of people who are crippled, can't do things. So, because as I recall, it's pretty flat going in.
Yeah, and in fact, the renovations that were done about 10 years ago or so have handicap restrooms right there on the main floor. All the doors are accessible. Everything's flat there. The chairs move around, so a wheelchair and a person sitting with a wheelchair person can easily get in there. There's ADA parking, which they've just added right outside the main entrance of the chapel too. So even though, like we were joking earlier, some of the parking is kind of far away, the ADA parking is right there.
Yeah.
And so that's a great point and easily accessible.
Yeah, and the older our society gets, the more you're going to have people that are crippled and would like to go to these. But sometimes it can be pretty difficult.
Yeah, I just had a thought. It's something that if you know somebody at that organization, Valparaiso University, maybe they could provide a shuttle service
They do that.
for events such as yours, that, when you have to park in the faculty parking lot and then pack your lunch to get to the chapel, maybe there could be a shuttle back and forth.
Many of the big concerts, they do that. There's a
I've
shuttle.
never seen one, Jeff.
Yes.
And
Maybe not the ones you've been to.
I use the term weebles wobble, but we don't fall down. I wobble up too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's a good idea. And
Yeah.
they try to do that when they can.
for the students, for extra credit, maybe they could learn how to drive a golf cart.
They do that too.
See?
There are golf carts everywhere around home
Is there?
time, especially, yeah.
There we go. We got one.
Oh my goodness gracious. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the program. Again, according to the powers to be, this program will appear tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And I hope you partake in some, regardless of your religious background or no background at all, I hope you partake in Easter Sunday services someplace. The intent is motivation. I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvements or criticism of this show is greatly appreciated. Please contact Show's co-producers Bob Pollock, Dave Bila, or Tony Hendricks with your comments. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, skrpollock@gmail.com, or Dave at djbila1@hotmail.com, or at Tony, emailagm@yahoo.com. Or you may direct your ideas for any future shows to our one and only Pain and Neck staff writer, Sarah Bellum. Showing of our program will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m., also Monday evening and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. on Channel 99, and numerous times throughout the week if they've got some dead airtime to fill. You may also watch this show on our YouTube channel, Navigate News and Views, 99 Navigate News and Views. And you can see the rebroadcast, so you're going to be spread throughout the United States, young man, if you want it. If you don't, tough, that's the way it's going to be. I want to thank everybody for watching, and make it a good day.